Sisters, we are building a school.
That is right. We are partnering with Nguvu to build the Bright Future Academy School in Tamale, Ghana. Nguvu is the Swahili word for strength.
And Nguvu Foundation aims to serve underprivileged communities in Ghana by partnering with over 1,500 women to pick and produce shea butter and its byproducts, providing them with fair pay and opportunities to support their families.
These women are truly strong, capable, and productive. However, sisters, we want to support them with a challenge that they face daily.
Let us explain. These women are often the sole caretakers and breadwinners of their families.
And due to the predominance of poverty, they do not have access to nurseries or can provide some kind of care provision for their children whilst they work. So we are building the Bright Future Academy, which is a free preschool that will provide a safe environment and a high quality education for the children of these hard-working women.
Our aim is to raise £10,000 in the next 6 months to be able to build, furnish, staff, and open this school in early 2024. And we need your help to do that.
So please donate, and you can always find out more information over at tomysisters.com or in the YouTube description or in our show notes.
Help us to support our sisters in Tamale by providing their children with a quality education and a bright future. And these archetypes are what people fall in love with, not necessarily people.
This isn't just about like performing, but this is actually really about coexisting with someone in harmony and in balance.
Men will want a traditional woman and then be upset when she comes with traditional expectations.
She wants a traditional husband. Why is it that the modern woman is seen as such a threat to the patriarchy and a threat to the men that are looking for the quote-unquote traditional bells?
Their toes are being sucked, their back is being blown out, and they are writing love letters in their journal. Do not be lied to. Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Renee, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth, and development of a community of sisters around the world.
And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about patriarchy and the passport brothers. The passport bros, the men that are simultaneously trying to find a wife and reassert themselves at the top of the patriarchy.
All right, let's go.
Very excited for this one. But before we dig into it, do we have any housekeeping announcements?
Well, we are just a couple of weeks out from New Orleans. We are going to Essence Festival. If you didn't know, if you're new around here, because we have been talking about it a whole bunch, but we are going to be hosting a brunch in New Orleans during Essence Fest weekend. And so if you are in NOLA over the weekend, as well as just around the New Orleans area, and you want to come and have some brunch with your sisters, then please head to the link in our description so you can grab a ticket to have some brunch, some food, some clink, some
baby.
Hugs, some kikis with us.
Absolutely. And also a note that if you have been following To My Sisters for a while now, you'll know that we are authors. So sisters, thank you so much to everyone that has purchased a copy. We absolutely love you. We adore you. We appreciate you. And it's just been so heartwarming hearing all of the great reviews that we've been getting. The sisterhood, the bonding, everything. So if you've been missing out so far, not to fret, you can still purchase a copy of the To My Sisters book, A Guide to Building Lifelong Friendships, by clicking on the link in the description below or in the show notes. So please support the sisters, support the sisterhood, and really invest in your own female friendships by grabbing a copy of the book.
We love to see it.
And also, sisters, again, thank you so much for all of the donations towards our school project in Tamale. We are over the halfway mark, which is incredible. Like, we are literally almost there, and we are so indebted to all of you and your support with this project.
We are indeed.
Please, sisters, please encourage a friend, a brother, a sister, anyone in your network that really thinks that this is a worthwhile cause to support, and please donate. Whether it is a donation or even just a simply sharing, the link, sharing the work that we're doing, we'd appreciate it all. So please stay on it and stay supporting the project. Thank you so much. Without further ado, would it be a TMS episode if we don't have a dilemma? So can we get a little ding, ding, ding?
Dilemma.
Yeah, girl, I messed that one up. I know. I was like, you know that ones that you're like, child, you were trying to do it entirely too much. I was doing entirely too much, folks. We actually give God all the glory. Hey sisters.
Hello friends.
Good thing you're always sitting all comfy on your couch because you'll need that for this one.
Okay. Let's get into
I saw the
it then.
opening of this and it made me laugh so much. I'm turning 28 tomorrow and my
Love that.
life
Happy
is
birthday.
a full-blown drama series. Yes, happy birthday, sis. We hope you have a fantastic day.
For real.
My boyfriend, now ex-boyfriend of 4 years, broke up with me in March this year and I haven't been okay. Long story cut short, he was not ready for marriage and he felt that I am. So he thought it was best we went our separate ways. I was shattered. That is how I came across you two lovely ladies.
Aww.
So he's been reaching out to me here and there. It doesn't surprise me because we were best friends. I also started talking to a certain guy at work and he has expressed his interest in me. Frankly, I am not ready to dive into another relationship, especially with someone I hardly know. We are therefore taking our time to see where things go. I honestly still want my ex back, but I know we would have to really figure out a lot of things before I can even consider giving him another chance.
Yeah.
Now here is the dilemma. My ex called me yesterday, then sent me a few songs to listen to. Just some nice uplifting music. I told him I would listen to the songs, but I didn't get back to him as fast as he would have wanted me to. When I wanted to respond, I realized he had deleted them from our chat and had blocked me. This sent me into a downward spiral. It's literally a day before my birthday and I am sad because I feel like I've lost him forever. I was doing well in my healing, but now I feel like I have taken 10 steps backwards. I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. Please help your African sister out.
Hey,
Boy,
sister
we
from
love to see
the
it.
continent.
We love to see it.
Interesting. I don't know if he blocked you because you didn't respond in the timing he would have wanted you to. And I think that there needs to be a clear end to this if it's going to be that it has ended. And I get it. It's actually very recent. We're only in June and you broke up in March.
Absolutely.
And I can imagine that with the excitement around your birthday as well as the heartbreak from this situation, you're probably experiencing a roller coaster of emotions or, you know, a plethora of emotions at the same time. And so definitely be patient with yourself on this healing journey. It is definitely not linear when it comes to healing. Sometimes you feel like you regress, sometimes you feel like you're making progress, but at the same time, it's something that needs to be embraced. Every facet of that journey needs to be embraced. What I will say in this situation is, if you and your ex are, you know, still feeling some type of way about each other, obviously there was still contact post breakup, then maybe have a conversation which is, and really reflects on your feelings first of all, but have a conversation as to whether you actually want to get back together. But before that could happen, if that was a possibility, you both need to be on the same page about your future, because you don't want to go on another cycle of, oh, we're together because we really like each other, but then we're going to break up because we actually don't have the same timeline, a shared vision, same goals and things like that. So I think it would be worth bringing up that conversation with him, but unfortunately he's closed that door for you. And so unless you want to send this man a letter,
Right.
he's kind of being
Not a
childish. 100%. Because how's she gonna reach him?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
You know there was where you said like 1 pence over
Not an
paper.
email or something. Like, dear, I hope this meets you well. And it could be because he's in his feelings. Obviously, we won't know. We don't know his side of the story. And so I think it's important for you right now to think, okay, what is the next step of my life going to be? What's the next stage? Is it trying to rekindle the flame that I had with this man and then trying to reconcile that situation? Because I'm sure if he had this like similar feelings, he would reopen that door. Yeah. Or is it, I'm actually going to move on? Now, moving on doesn't have to be dating somebody else, because as you said, somebody else is interested in you. But if this is still very fresh, you can take things at your own pace. You're okay to tell this person who has shown interest, you know, you don't even have to share that you've gone through a breakup, but you can be like, you know, I'm not currently in this stage where, or at the place where I would want to date, and I wouldn't want to mislead you, but maybe if you have interest in them, we could continue to have conversations, kind of build on a friendship. Like, let's just talk, let's see how things go, get to know each other, but I'm just not in that place where I could say that I want to date. And I think just having that clarity and that honesty would definitely be worthwhile, just to make sure you don't lead someone on, but also so that you don't confuse yourself about what it is that you are doing, especially if you have conflicting emotions surrounding your ex and the way that situation ended. So For me, this kind of looks like, for you, what do you actually want? Like, ask yourself that, what do you actually want? I know you may want your ex back, but is that a realistic option, right? Because if you don't want to compromise on you getting married at some point soon, then you can't force your ex to suddenly change unless he wants to, right? And if you then kind of embark on the whole, well, I'm moving forward, take your time with that. Take your time. You don't have to rush into dating. You definitely need to heal, you know, kind of let those wounds have their necessary time, go through the motions of the sadness, the joy, the memories, and definitely surround yourself with community at this time as well. I know that I'm sure at this point your birthday has probably passed, but I think situations like this can make us want to isolate ourselves. But a birthday is something that needs to be commemorated. It's something that needs to be celebrated. And although you may not be spending it in the way that maybe at the beginning of the year you thought you would, you can still really make it a good day. You can still make it something to remember by surrounding yourself with friends, family, other people who mean something to you and who can really, you know, keep you company on that day or during this time of celebrations. We are big advocates for birthday month. So if your birthday was around now, then girl, keep living it up. But definitely take time to celebrate and have something that can bring you joy amidst the confusion and joy amidst the heartbreak as well. That's what I'd say. How about you?
That. No, I completely agree, man. Happy birthday to you, sis. Enjoy this month. This is the month of you, really and truly. And I think it's such a shame that you received such a message literally the day before your birthday. Like, my good sir, I need you to have a little bit more tact next time. If there is going to be a next time, child, there might not be, and that's okay. I completely agree with everything that you were saying. It feels like you need a little bit more time. And the thing about time is time can really heal a multitude of heartbreaks. And I think that just really taking the time to focus on your own healing and really double down on the things that you value within a relationship is really, really helpful. Of course, things still feel pretty raw. And I think that it's not always necessarily helped by the fact that they're still present in your life. So even the fact that he blocked you may have actually been a good thing in disguise. In that, you know, sometimes the access or the appearance of an open door can really prevent us from moving forward because we're constantly looking behind us, constantly thinking, well, maybe I should wait it out, or constantly thinking maybe I should go backwards. And perhaps this was an opportunity to get a little bit of closure. And I really want you to think about why you've started to almost blame yourself as to why, you know, he's blocked you or why he's taken this step. It could very well be something on his end insofar as maybe he wanted you to move on, or maybe he wasn't ready to pursue that. Maybe he felt like it was a mistake in that he recognized or realized that actually you two aren't compatible in that way. So I think allowing yourself some grace and really not trying to shoulder the blame, I suppose, or shoulder the responsibility of the breakdown of that relationship by yourself is super, super important. And then when you're ready, really thinking about pursuing a relationship that is true to your values and your principles. Of course, the person that you're speaking to at work, you don't really know them that well, but that's the truth of many relationships in the beginning, right? And the friendship, the engagement, the feeling of like community and communing with somebody takes time to develop. So I think equally I don't know anything about this fella that you've been speaking to. Maybe he's a cutie, maybe you like him, and maybe it just necessitates a little bit more time to really get to know him and really get to know yourself and then really invest in that relationship. And as much as your ex was your best friend, well, I'm sure you guys had a really great run, and I'm glad and happy that you had a mostly positive experience with that person. But don't allow the fact that you found something beautiful in that relationship make you think that you won't be able to find something even more beautiful in its due time. And something that's actually aligned with the things that you want for yourself and your future. So sis, pour one out for us, birthday month. Whether you are a drinker or not, Prosecco, white wine, non-alcoholic beverage, whatever it is. Even if it's juice, J2O, have a J2O on us. And please enjoy your birthday. As Courtney was saying, finding moments to really enjoy yourself and have joy with the people around you, your friends, your family, those that really want to celebrate you during this time. Really lean into that. And girl, congratulations to even getting to 28. Good Lord.
Beautiful.
Lord knows that we be going through a lot of things in our time. And it's really tight out here. So congratulations to reaching 28. We are so proud of you and all the achievements that you have made over the course of those 28 years. And we're really wishing you the best in this healing journey. So sis, happy birthday. We hope that this was helpful. And sisters that are listening in, please hop over to YouTube and comment below. Do you have any parting words of wisdom to our good sis turning 28? Even the sisters that are 28 plus, do you have any words of wisdom that you'd like to share? Any birthday wishes that you could share with our good sister? A little bit of wisdom is always appreciated around the streets of To My Sister. So please come and wish our sister a good happy birthday month. Now moving into the meat and bones of the conversation. Now, Miss Courtney, I am not sure if you are aware.
I am not. I'm not going to lie. Even when you introed the cover, I was kind of like,
what is this?
Well, I'll wait for you to tell me what it is.
Yeah, don't worry. I say don't worry, but I think you should.
Yes.
So passport bros or passport brothers refers to this growing trend of men. Well, to be honest, it's not necessarily a new trend, but it's a more sensationalized trend these days of men that are departing the Western world to find their spouse.
Okay.
So they are going to more quote unquote traditional places or, for example, going back home, quote unquote, especially if they are a member of the diaspora or whatever. And we've seen it on shows like Married at First Sight and all those kind of 90-Day Fiancés, but an increasing amount of sentiment around, I am tired of the modern woman and I would like to go home and find myself a proper homegrown traditional patriarchal wife. So that's the passport bro.
Right, thank you.
And passports, it basically denotes the guy that's picking up their passport to go and find their spouse.
Right.
So before we actually talk about the passport bros, I actually wanted to talk about the modern woman. So we've had conversations around what it means to be a woman in quote unquote the modern day. Some of the constraints that have been lifted off of us due to, campaigns against the patriarchy and just generations and generations of passings and the reform and what it means to be a woman. Why is it that the modern woman, especially on social media, but also in communities, why is it that the modern woman is seen as such a threat to the patriarchy and a threat to the men that are looking for the quote unquote traditional belles as their wife?
That is interesting. I think whenever somebody does not conform to traditional expectations, it just looks like rebellion. And I think the history of rebellion or people viewing something as rebellious it's almost evil, like akin to, but I think of this and I liken it to how people kind of demonize feminism and like in the sense of the demonic sense. Do you get what I mean? Where it's like, this cannot be good. This cannot be something sacred. This cannot be something that is beneficial to the world. It has to be, if you're trying to turn something on its head, it has to be with negative motive. Right. And I think people assume that negative motive of the modern woman who has not necessarily rebelled, but maybe she has resisted, right? And there's been a resistance to the traditional expectations, the traditional roles, the traditional standards set that kind of hold women bound to a certain way of manifesting their femininity or manifesting their personality. And when a woman resists that and lives outside of that as an outlier, people assume the motive is negative, number one. And number two, they presume that to be a threat to men. So it's not just a threat to the patriarchy, it's a threat to men themselves, in the sense, not that men perceive it as a threat, I would say, but more so they think women are now on the offensive, right? They're trying to be contrarian. They're trying to be something that cannot be consumed and has a nice taste to them, right? And I think that's why people are upset about it, because it's like, but I don't want you to be this way. And if you're not how I want you to be, how can I be pleased? Especially in a world which has often positioned women to please men. And it's like, well, now that you're not doing what I would want, what I've romanticized, what I've been told that I deserve, what it is that I should expect, how can I now consume you pleasantly? You're not pleasant. And I think there's that, like, we look at situations like catcalling, you should smile more, or all of this. It's more so I want to consume you in this specific way. I want to gaze at you. I want you to be in society for me to enjoy, for my pleasure. And I think that's the general sentiment of men. And that's the dynamic that patriarchy sets us up for. And so I think the reason why people see the modern woman as a threat is it completely turns on its head everything men have been idolizing and everything they've been romanticizing and desiring. And I think it's more so because men and women fall into this as well when we look at the negative effects of patriarchy on men, especially when it comes to masculinity and its ideals. People fall in love with the romanticized image and the stereotypes and the ideal woman, the ideal man. And these archetypes are what people fall in love with, not necessarily people, right? And if you were to value women as people, if we were to value women as people in society, we would realize that the beauty of the human experience is that we are all unique and so diverse, but people don't want that diversity in thought, diversity in purpose, diversity in skill, because we want archetypes. We want the image. We want the perfect consumable product. It's like with the Barbie, right? If you have Barbies on a shelf and you see your friend with a Barbie one day and you're like, I want one, you're going to expect to go to the store and see 1,000 of the same type of Barbie. How frustrated would we be if you saw your friend with a Barbie and then you realize you can't have that exact one? You go to the store and every single Barbie is different. And now you have to choose your own. It's kind of like, no, but I want what they have.
Right.
And it could be that you're comparing yourself to your peers, or you're comparing yourself to generations that have come before you, or you're comparing yourself to this ideal that you may not have even ever seen before, but you've heard about. And now you're constantly on this search and expecting every single model of the same thing to be the same, when actually in real life, we're not Barbie dolls, right? You find women in society, we're not sitting on shelves, we're actively doing work, number one. We're up and about. Not everyone's life is different, but that's the thing, it's different. And I think that the threat that this modern woman poses is a threat to the expectation of sameness, right? But actually she's different. And that's hard because it then means you can't find what you were looking for. Right. But can you not necessarily accept, but appreciate what you've actually found? Right. How about you?
Oh, that's good. That was good.
Thanks, me.
That was a whole quart.
I'm trying.
No, I definitely agree. I think the construct of the modern woman, because I think there is a distinction to be made between the modern woman, as in like women that are modern, and then the modern woman, the caricature of the modern woman,
like
that
women
we see,
living in the modern world.
The caricatures that we see online that are often brought to the fore when we're discussing what's wrong with womanhood and women right now and the loss of femininity. And it's that, right? It's the destabilization of what we've associated with masculinity. We've associated power, control, independence, agency with masculinity, and how threatening it is when the things that we've associated with quote unquote masculinity is now being not even just acquired, but easily acquired by women now, right? More women that are going to school. In fact, in some demographics, women are by a landslide overtaking men. More women are accessing money, financial freedom. More and more women are finding themselves child-free, deciding not to have children. More and more women are finding themselves not actually wanting to be in a committed relationship. So all of the things that we have traditionally associated with masculinity are now being acquired by women. And that's a threat, because when you have associated these things with masculinity, when women start acquiring these kind of things, what does it mean to be a man all of a sudden? All of a sudden, you can't assert the dominance. All of a sudden, you can't assert the power. All of a sudden, you have to contend with somebody who, for all intents and purposes, is either your equal or may have surpassed you in certain spheres that were previously associated with your masculinity.
That's really good.
And I think the unfortunate thing is, rather than looking at modern women and saying, like, you guys need to know your place and you need to take it down a peg, I need like more of us to look at masculinity, probe what it really means to be a man, and really think about, has this definition of masculinity, has this socially constructed masculinity really worked for us? Because even that, right, we look at other generations and we say, oh, I want a Barbie doll that looks like this. It's only the perception of that really that holds true. Have you actually thought, were these people happy?
What was the reality of it?
Did this work? What was the reality of the day? And I think it's also that resistance to the fact that things are actually changing.
Yes.
Structures, not just patriarchy, but literally structures around us are changing. The economy is changing. It means that it is actually like, it's almost impossible to be totally reliant on one person's income for the majority of us. In reality, a lot of us, especially when we are in partnerships with people, will need to combine incomes, which means that both of you will have to work.
100%.
Dealing with that reality, right? Thinking about the reality of ownership, right? When you want to own, for example, a house or any kind of like financial asset, it is actually necessary and quite wise to actually partner up with somebody
100%.
who is making like money, like, right, they've got bank, or even thinking about like future, if you did want to have a child with someone, it makes sense for a lot of people to really think about, what does childcare look like, what does that division of labor look like? And I think it's that there's a lot of people that are, rather than having conversations and really appreciating the differences and the nuances within their own relationships with women, they want something that they perceive to be the true emblem of what it means to be a husband and wife, or in a relationship with a woman, or whatever. They seek to take whilst retaining the power that they've traditionally had in society. And for society to progress, at least in my opinion, you will have to deal with the changes. You will have to, in fact, you may have to embrace it in order to overcome them. And I think what also frustrates me sometimes in these conversations is there are even some people that have accepted that, okay, the woman is going to have to do, you know, substantially more these days, but are still unwilling to compromise in that power dynamic. So it is I still expect you to bow to me. I still expect you to, you know, concede to me in this specific way, despite the fact that our reality is actually different. So it's really like, how do I partner with this woman as opposed to how do I dominate this woman? And I think that's the frustration that I have when we have the conversations around modern womanhood and how she is the Delilah or she is the Jezebel that is destabilizing family structures and destabilizing relationships. And it's like, well, she didn't just rise up in isolation. She's actually risen up as a response to some of the key changes we've seen over time and space. And rather than seeing it as a threat, rather than seeing it as something that is destabilizing, think about it as a response to some of these changes. And also think about the ways that we can not necessarily redefine masculinity, but tweak it a little bit so that we can both thrive.
I also think it's interesting how people see these things, and how it's framed by what people believe a wife is.
Right.
And this maybe lends well to like the passport bros.
Yeah, passport bros.
Passport
you're
bros
such an auntie, man. The way
conversation.
you're like, oh, this thing that these guys on the internet.
You know what? I
talking
actually think
about.
not being on Twitter
it's
been
helpful.
a big drawback.
It's helpful.
Well, actually, no, I actually think it's been a drawback in aging me. There's so many things I don't know.
But to be honest, it's more like mental aging.
Okay,
do you get what I mean? So I feel like staying away from Twitter is actually really good for your mental health.
I've actually
had wisdom, thrived. But it's like you'll come across it. But to be fair, it's also starting to penetrate like YouTube, TikTok, this whole notion.
But
more so in the red pill circles and that.
Exactly.
So.
But we've definitely spoken about like curating your feed and stuff. So definitely go and listen to that episode. But the reason why I brought that up is I think people do this as if they are hiring help. Or hiring staff members. And it's like, okay, this is there. And I am not a man. I don't know the psyche of men, but roll with me here since we're all on the internet talking about things we're not pros in.
I know. Right.
Firstly, I think men can, and this is what we do with visions, right? And the visions and plans that we make for our lives. We think practically, who do I need to help make this happen? If we're looking at like a household or a family from an organizational perspective, you're probably going to go looking for a partner who fits the work you're trying to do and fits the vision and the thing that you're trying to build. And so I think a lot of men are traveling because they're trying to acquire someone who fits into their perfect image. And I think this requires us to now reframe what we believe to be assets in society. And I think the criticism, the undue criticism that the modern woman has received is often because people do not see how she is an asset to a man or how she can be an asset to a family. And it's kind of like, okay, you diverting away from traditionalism and our traditions of, you know, maybe cooking, cleaning, the things that you associate with traditional femininity, child rearing, the perception that you are veering away from that, because oftentimes that's actually not the reality. People think because you have a job, you can't keep your house clean, or because you have it's this lack of nuance, this lack of duality that women are not afforded, in the sense of you can actually be a working woman who knows how to cook, who knows how to clean. But the assumption is if you leave for work, how do you have time for all of this stuff? Because we're multifaceted people. So I think that's also a drawback in the argument in itself. But back to what I was saying, I think people do not see that a modern woman can still be an asset to a family, because they still think that the role of a wife or the role of a mother is simply cooking, cleaning, keeping a house, and being like the housewife, or being the person who can bow at your feet and do all of these things. And I think people have that almost as a job spec. And then when they meet a woman who's a modern woman, they think you can't possibly fulfill this role because you're too busy doing everything else, versus seeing that one, the modern woman, yes, can be an asset, but two, we shouldn't actually see human beings like that. It's not that you can't be strategic with the vision you have for your home and the vision you have for your family, and be intentional about who you partner yourself with. I think that's actually very necessary. But I think the fundamental is when you are marrying a husband, or you're marrying a wife, or you're seeking to be in partnership through community. I mean, you're seeking to be in partnership through relationship. You're getting with a human being. And you have to see that human being for more than just, what do you do for me? And how do you fit into my picture? Yeah, it's so reductive. Like, as your partner, I am not fulfilling a job role, right? And that's how you then see people treating their wives like maids, treating their wives like servants, treating their wives like house help, and not wives. And even that idea of traveling back home to go and get someone who, have you taken time to understand their culture? There's this idea that they will just assimilate into your life, that you can completely absorb them into just your vision and your plan for the future. Maybe because you assume that, oh, their values will be aligned to mine. Why do you assume that their values are aligned to you? Because what we also need to pay attention to is the fact that we're living in a modern world, which means we're dealing with modern men. It's this idea that like you can go back and get someone from back home and they'll just assimilate into your life, and you can shape them into who it is you need them to be and you want them to be. And oftentimes that leads to an imbalance in power, number one, but also you removing from them their agency and their uniqueness and their decision to be directive. And so I'm not saying that like no one should go and do it, because, you know, I love a good, oh, we met back home. I really don't care who you marry, or like, and I think it's because you will make your household work. Right? But what I'm trying to get at is, you shouldn't be making your household work at the expense of a woman's agency, her freedom, her ability to actually be unique, but more importantly, her ability to be appreciated, right, as a partner.
I love that you brought up the modern men. Because that was actually a point that I wanted to pivot to real quick. Based off of the example of, I can't remember what show it was, but there was a video floating around on social media recently where an American man had flown, not back home, because this was definitely a white man flying to the Arabic world to find his Muslim bae. And I was just like, there's several layers of problematicness in there, but he, you know, flew back and was looking for someone and got into an argument with a babe that he was interested in, because he was kind of bamboozled at the fact that she expected him to take care of all the bills, absolutely every single bill, expected him to be out working literally all the time, had expectations around, you know, obviously for her to submit, he needed to demonstrate that authority, and the primary resource was money, and he wasn't making enough in her eyes.
And it's crazy.
And I thought it was beautiful
that men will want a traditional woman and then be upset when she comes with traditional expectations.
She wants a traditional husband, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think it's that, right? I think there's also it's so problematic how people think that their modern money is enough to satisfy a woman from quote unquote back home, or somebody from the quote unquote global south, right? There's that assumption of, you know, we were going to be treated as kings when we go back home because we're making enough money.
This idea that you'll be helping them out.
Baby, it's not enough.
Or that they will just be impressed because you have foreign money.
And the whole idea that respect is due you simply by virtue of being a man. And it's like, no, if you want to take
the
it
West, most
right,
likely.
If you want to be super, super traditional in some of these particular instances, please be aware of the fact that masculinity provides. And this is why we are constantly having conversations around why we need to actually have conversations around redefining masculinity. Because when you are allowing masculinity to be defined by how much you can provide.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, baby. As soon as you stop providing, you stop being a man.
100%.
Do you want that for yourself?
100%.
Do you want that pressure for yourself? And I know that, you know, again, as you said, we can't speak to the psyche of men. We have male friends. We have people around us that are men. We have male older figures as well.
We're just making observations.
We are just making observations, and we've had conversations with them. Okay, we have good men. We will never understand the psyche of men. But baby, understand that in a partnership, you got a partner. And if you're looking for A, you better bring B. And I think it's that, right? The absence of the B. What do you bring to the table as a man?
That's the real question.
You can't be out here talking about, I want a traditional wife, and you're not a traditional man. You are a modern man who is constrained by the reality of the economy that you operated in. And I think it's an awkward conversation for men to have, because nobody wants to be out here talking about, I'm actually broke, or like, I actually don't have the capacity to provide for you in the way that I want to, right? You have men that are contending with modern women that are now telling them, look, babe, like, you ain't making enough. You know what I'm saying? You ain't making enough. I can work and we can work this thing out together, but it's very much contingent on how much you are willing to see me as a partner in this particular context. Then you decide, oh, I'm going to go and try it with a traditional babe. And she's going to be like, well, I need you to bring the money. We have bills to pay. We have mouths to feed. Literally everything. There are some cultures where literally women take their salary from their partners.
100.
Their upkeep is on their partners.
100%.
Right?
Everything.
And it's, are you ready to contend with that expectation if you are to go quote unquote back home? Are you ready to?
And can you deal with the weight of that as well? Because I think one of the drawbacks we have seen of like toxic masculinity is that comes with a lot of pressure on your finances, but also on your mental health and your ability, like your actual identity. What if one thing goes wrong? And as much as you can say, well, that won't happen to me, you actually don't know. Like 3 years ago, we were hit by a global pandemic. I'm sure people were not planning to lose their jobs, be made redundant and all of that. And yet it's happened. What are you then going to do when you have children to feed and a wife to feed as well? But also, what does that do to your self-esteem and your identity, and realizing that you are actually more than just a provider? But if you do sign up to a system where that is the cultural expectations, or that is the culture that you've made in your family unit, then you're going to have to stick by that. You have to take up the responsibilities you signed yourself up for. And I think what's interesting, especially having watched many a Nollywood film where this is done, I think, because this is not new.
It's not.
It's not new.
Literally,
like,
almost
this
every
is
Nollywood.
not
Nollywood is before.
Nollywood is
ahead
before
of
its time.
Like,
I'm telling you, a sociologist is making those films. It's interesting because often you see whether it's the men going back to the village to find somebody,
the love of their life, all of a
back
sudden.
to the city. But the thing is, oftentimes it's not the love of their life. It's somebody who will do.
Right. You're right.
They're picking someone who, she'll do, or someone's been put on them as she fits the spec, right? But then what happens when that woman rebels, or what happens when that woman starts evolving and starts changing? Oftentimes there isn't an attempt to understand. There isn't an attempt to evolve with her or in that same direction, because often these women are co-opted into someone else's story. Right. And I'm trying my hardest not to remove their agency from them, because obviously they are also choosing these men, and they are in the relationship as well as active participants. So it's not like, oh, these women are just kidnapped. Do you get what I mean? No, they choose to marry these men as well. And I think that they deal with their own expectations and having to adjust in that as well. But I find that often when the evolution starts to happen, the immediate thing is to reprimand versus to journey with and to adjust with. Do you get what I mean? Because you don't see that person as a partner. You see them as somebody who needs to be obedient and subservient. And if they're not subservient, they are defeating their entire purpose in your life. And I think that's why companionship actually matters. And oftentimes we see people moving from the West to go and be with somebody in the global South, and then kind of getting confused when there's a loss in translation. When it's like, especially with the example that you just gave, if you lose your job and you're the provider, you would then want that woman to stick beside you. But for her, you're the provider. This is very transactional. And you benefited from the transaction when you were looking for a partner. But now that you can't hold your end of the deal, you want modern or Western ideals to take prevalence of like companionship and friendship and stick beside me through anything. money have a make. I don't need to stay here for nada,
Money
right? I just think it's interesting when people treat other human beings as just little toys in their playhouse. And like they can just put them wherever they want, however they want.
Speaking of treating human beings as little playthings, we want to flip the conversation because, over here at the TMS streets, we like to have a conversation with nuance. Okay. We like to travail into places that may be a bit uncomfortable, a little bit uncomfortable, because whilst there is a legitimate charge to be had when we have conversations around passport bros and modern men and their rejection of modern women, equally, we do have to sit with our women and say, let's also inspect how are our modern women contributing to some of the tensions that we're seeing within the play space. So to what extent, because having conversations with quite a few of like male friends and men around us, it seems like the dating pool is crappy for everyone. Yeah. But also there is, for some women, the expectation of wanting to be that modern woman, but then also being the traditional woman when it suits her.
Yes. Yes.
So I want to hear your thoughts on that. Yes. We're talking about the kind of babes that expect the man to provide everything, even though she's making that P, believing that, his paycheck is now her paycheck, but her paycheck is her paycheck. The woman that is out here expecting him to hold it down while she is simultaneously making her bank and being the independent woman that she wants to be. Talk to me about that.
Let us not allow the culture of the day to bamboozle us.
Hey, sisters, here well
into using people. There's an element of revenge.
Right.
In the sense of, well, we've been used, we've been consumed, we've been objectified. Hello. So tables are turning, baby.
Child off.
It's a switcheroo.
That is so funny.
I do think there's an element of that, right? Which is, well, why sympathize with that? Because, why make that a problem? Because women have been experiencing that probably even to more extreme degrees and more harmful degrees for a much longer period of time. So I think that whilst I actually fully hear that and I fully understand where that's coming from, I still don't think it's beneficial to do the flip around and to do the switcheroo, because fundamentally it still results in us using people and objectifying people and treating people as though they are just a part of our story and they don't have a story themselves. I think the immense amount of pressure that puts on a person to be a provider for you, but you not reciprocating in any way and kind of playing your cards close to your chest and being reserved and not giving yourself fully over to your partner, whilst it may seem strategic, it often results in the absence of love, the absence of affection, and the absence of true unity, because you are constantly operating as an individual, even though you're in a partnership. And I think that that's dangerous for the future of relationships, because it will just cause disasters just on the other end of the scale. I do think that it doesn't actually help us reach our aims. Because as much as you may think, well, I've got my own money though, I do think practically when you think about it, if you are adjusting your life to somebody else providing for you and being there and their money being your money, if they were to go, it will affect your economic situation. I think there is a delusion that sometimes we operate under or can start to operate under as women, which is, well, I can actually do this all by myself. And so even if you stepped out of the picture, it wouldn't change my life at all. And it's like, actually, it would change your life, right? How many dilemmas do we get about heartbreak? But also on a more practical side, how many situations have we seen where women, because the man has been the main provider, have probably adjusted their entire life, such as becoming the childcare provider or such as being the housewife or becoming the person who is taken care of. And it started out of choice, and it still remained out of choice, but now it has completely affected their CV. They've got gaps in their CV now, or they're not at the same financial place they were at before. And so if that man was to step out of the picture, it's not that they're completely reliant, but you cannot deny that their entire lifestyle would actually change. Their economic status would actually change. But more importantly, they would lose somebody who's been a significant part of their life. And we need to be careful not to see men, and I'm going to sound like a patriarchy princess.
Not a pick me.
It's crazy.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It's important not to see men as just these villainous archetypes who, you know, are in our lives and have held all of these, you know, oppressive powers. But at the end of the day, we just want to use and get the benefits of, because actually, as many of the dilemmas we have received prove, we actually love them. Or the ones we pick anyway. For the majority of us, even if they're no good.
You know, then people be like, men are trash, and then they're laid up under a man.
No, and their toes are being sucked, their back is being blown out, and they are writing love letters in their journal. Do not be lied to. Do not be hoodwinked. Okay, city girls cry too.
Specifically under a man.
And this is just, it's another layer of deception, which unfortunately we do have to address, even though it's perpetrated a lot by women, right? Oftentimes there's this idea that, I can do, like the city girl thing, right? And I have no issue against the city girls. Do your thing.
Hello.
Or that culture. My thing is this. Do not be deceived into thinking that they are the ones that are winning, or this is the only way you can win when it comes to love and comes to relationship. Right. And again, rewind to about 3 minutes ago when I said I understand why things like this emerge, because the imbalance has existed against us for so long that it's like, nah, we're going to get our slice of the cake now. But I think one thing that this removes oftentimes, and what we're trying to do in society, or our generation is trying to do when it comes to relationships, which is not going to work, is remove the emotion that comes with relationships.
This is it.
Like, honestly and truly, you can't tell me that this person that you've been doing life with, you completely despise. Their money is making up for everything.
This is it. I think that when we think about relationships, we need to take you're a man, you're a woman, or whatever, and think about, is this actually a friend to you? Like, really layering it with, is this actually a friend to you? Because companionship, the heavy emphasis on the companionship, the person that you decide to commit to needs to actually be your best friend. They don't need to just be a provider or a, submissive or whatever. They actually need to be your best friend, because there won't always be situations where you need to basically cosplay as wife or husband. There will be situations where actually you just need your friend in that. Like, you need a friend. And it's like, when you take off the lens of like gendered expectations, you start to realize this isn't just about like performing, but this is actually really about coexisting with someone in harmony and in balance. And it's so frustrating, especially on behalf of women, because girl, I get it. Especially because a lot of us are responding to not just our own trauma, but generational trauma, where we've seen women that have been financially abused and manipulated. And we think that we can straddle the two of being the independent babe who's getting her own money and has her like emergency fund in case this man is misbehaving, while simultaneously trying to be the woman that is like his babes and that's a go-getter, but also is equally being taken care of because it's a choice. It is this like, I feel like we're almost in an identity crisis, and it's less 100%. It's less so about overlaying all of these gendered stereotypes and these gendered functionalities, and more so about who is the individual that I'm with, or who is the individual that I would like to be with, and then also matching based off of that, and also understanding that there will be certain criteria or certain values that you have which may narrow your dating pool, and getting to grips with that. I think this is less so about like the gendered expectations, but more so around the reality of, if I have X value, this means that my pool will look like this, and that is okay. I think too many people will come and say, the dating pool is trash. It's like, no, the dating pool is not trash. It just means that these people are not the people you're looking for.
But I do actually think the dating pool is a bit trash, and I feel like it's because everyone is trying to play these games.
But this is, my issue with that is everyone says the dating pool is trash. Everyone. So who is the trash that you speak of? Because you'll speak to one person, the dating pool is trash, and the person that they dated will say, the dating pool is trash. So who is it? Whose fault is it?
Both of them. Everybody. But this is what I mean. I think when you have people operating in a culture which tells you that this is how you navigate dating, this is how you navigate relationships, and literally they treat it like, it's almost like we're on a treasure hunt, everyone is sabotaging each other, or everyone is holding their cards closer. It's game playing. And that's the thing. I think when everyone is playing a game, that's when the dating pool becomes trash, because this is the game we've decided to play.
Yeah.
And everyone's playing according to their own rules,
right.
or these rules that are being set by little internet echo chambers. And people are genuinely, I think you're right, having an identity crisis about who they are and who they truly are, right? What their morals are, how they treat people, how they want to be treated. So many people don't actually know what they want.
This is it.
So many people don't know who they actually are. And when it comes to relationships, how they will treat someone and how they won't. And you have people sitting up saying, I would never do this, I would never do that. But until you get into your specific relationship, you actually won't know. Because if we're asking for men to humanize us, we also have to humanize them.
There we go.
And so we're dealing with individuals. So this is a case by case basis. But when people go into relationships or into dating with, actually, I'm going to put the cultural expectation on you, or we're going to do this in this specific way. If not, I'm going to call you broke. Or if not, I'm going to call you a pick me. Or if not, I'm going to call you a hoe. If you don't operate according to my expectations, I'm going to demonize you.
Why are we all fighting with each other?
I'm a human being. Why are you projecting your expectations onto me? Especially if I never said that that's who I was. And that's why we always call out the deception aspect, right? Navigate the dating pool based on who you truly are, and so that the people who choose to date you are truly dating you and know what to expect.
But this is it. It comes back to that the point earlier around, if you have particular values, understand and sit with the fact that it will narrow your pool, 100%. Right? There's a lot of guys that will not do that or own up to that because it will narrow their access to the people that they want. Yeah. Similarly, there's a lot of women that will entertain a lot of guys purely because they know that what they truly hold dear to them will narrow their access to the amount of guys that they may want to interact 100%. With. And I think it's like for both sides or all sides to really sit with the fact that if you have specific values, not only do you need to actually perform the other side of them, be willing to reciprocate, but understand that it narrows your pool. That's 100. Okay.
Yeah.
It narrows your pool. You won't have access to everyone. It just takes one person to be your companion.
But that's the thing. People want the mass amount of options, and they want to be able to
stop.
No, and I'm not agreeing with it. I think that's the issue. People want to be able to pick whoever they want and make them who they want them to be.
Desirability.
But that's not what you do. That's not how the world works. That's not how life works. And I completely agree. And I've been saying it, like, it just takes one person, and we need to stop playing the dating game as if it was a numbers game and as if we are just trying to increase all of the odds, and just embrace the fact that, especially if you believe in monogamy, you just need to find your one person. And I find that the people who are actually most successful in relationships, or most content, I would say content is actually the word. The people who are most content in relationships are the people who are truest to themselves. They know exactly who they are. They know exactly what they like, what they don't like, and they're happy with their own uniqueness. They're not trying to play the dating game. They're truly trying to find their match. Right. They're trying to find somebody who they have common interests with, common desires, common vision, and they actually enjoy. And I don't think a lot of us appreciate that simplicity. I don't know if it's because we think it's harder than it actually is, or like you said, and I think this is the more likely thing, we just think it narrows our dating pool entirely too much, and that makes dating less fun. And I don't think it makes dating less fun.
And that's the thing. I think that's also a product of the culture that we're in, right? Yeah. Where we need to now be desirable to everyone. Yeah. Because think about it, back in the day, things worked because you'll find one person. You'll be sending them love letters. Do you want to make this work? You'll be, this is the love of my life. Do you remember back in the day, Wuthering Heights and them man there?
Romance. And that's the thing, like, we've actually made dating devoid of romance. And instead we're having these conversations about how we can cosplay love, right?
Yeah.
If he flies you out here, if she does this for you, if she cooks for you, then she loves you. It's not about that. It's about, what do you actually truly want, and how does that truly make you feel? Because if not, you're going to go into a dating situation and project the internet's expectations onto this one person, forgetting they're a human being with a life experience and a life story, and they are meant to be doing life with you, not the world, not the culture, not our generation, not TikTok, with you.
That's right. We need to go back to the days where the man them will be climbing up a poles to go and see their love of their life. That one
with the boombox. Like I'm telling you, go back and watch High School Musical.
That's So Raven.
Just
all of
go
them.
back.
A Different World.
Our generation is going to struggle with it because again, it comes down to people pleasing.
There we go.
And wanting our relationships to be on display, giving people access to be able to approve or disapprove.
Stop it now. Remember, it only takes one, not the 20 million that you see
and
online.
Stop living for public view.
This is the thing, because a lot of people will have dating interactions that they'll now come and post on social media, and it's like, okay, you've now been validated by 60k strangers that will probably never interact with you again in the same way,
and actually don't care.
They don't. Like, they've kikied with you or said, oh yes, queen, you were right to dump his ass, and it's like, okay, what do we do after that?
They're not going to be there to help you heal.
Or like vice versa for the man them. It's like, yeah, bro, you tell her, you act. Who are you?
It's dumb. And it's going to land a lot of us old and lonely. So let's stop.
Let's cease and desist. And on that note, this episode has come to an end. Cease and desist. Stop. Stop.
End it there.
End it there.
Put your hands up.
That's right. You've been arrested. Sisters or even brothers that are secretly listening, because we know there's an increasing amount of secret brothers that are listening in, especially the folks. Can I also just say the folks from the Red Pill content, because our content has started to penetrate that. Hi guys, how are you? Hope it's good over there.
Have you bathed today?
Did you find your babe?
I hope you've made £1 million today.
Have you found your traditional wife yet? No? Well,
I genuinely hope all is well with you.
Honestly, we have to pray for them or something, because some of the commentaries, there's been some angry people in our comments recently. I was telling Courtney, guys, there's been some angry people in our comments recently, especially guys that have been like, well, if I'm a 6-figure guy, let's make it. But this is the challenge.
But are you?
If I'm a 6-figure guy making XYZ, I can do whatever the heck I want. No, you can't over here, mate. You should pack it in and go home.
But also, what gives you the right?
And why are you here? Why are you telling us? We don't care about this. You're not our audience. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not our community. It's 2 by Sisters is called 2 by Sisters for a reason. Unless you see yourself as a sister. If not,
there is content that they make for you. It's not this. Go and find it.
It always makes me think
Kevin Samuel's channel is still up.
Yeah, it is.
Go and search for it.
Right. Go and
there's enough to fill up your
godfathers and your landlords.
There
please.
you go.
You know what it always makes me think of? You know that Prison Break, there's this scene that me and Courtney have been laughing over for the longest time, where what's his name?
Bellic.
Bellic is like trying to solicit information from one of the prisoners, and he gives him like food Tweener. And like junk food. Yeah, he tries to solicit information from Tweener, and he gives him a burger to eat, and Tweener gives him the most useless information ever. And Bellic snatched that burger. He was literally biting.
Give me that burger, stupid fool.
I feel like that's what we need to do when our content reaches like the stratosphere of Red Pill. Just that's not for
this
you.
Is not for you.
It's
like
not.
And I think that's another thing. You need to know what you want to subscribe to. I would actually go as far as to say sometimes what we're talking about is a life philosophy.
Yeah.
Like and that is often the context that we are coming from, right? Where it's like we are actually shaping your holistic view of life, some of your principles and how you approach everything,
right? From
friendship, the way you treat people, to career. And you can see it through, I think people interact with some of that content when it enters the manosphere and think we just sit around here talking about relationships, because you haven't seen the canon of content that we've actually put out, where we're addressing money, motives, building a future, vision setting, and all of that stuff. And so realize that when you're listening to us, you're listening to somebody, or you're listening to people, who presume that there is a certain kind of life you are trying to build, wider than just your relationships, your romantic relationships. And so you may not actually be aligned with that, and that's actually okay. If that's not the life you want to build, we actually wish you well.
You must go.
But leave, right? Because no, you have to go, because this is not the wisdom that you need to get to where you're trying to go. Now we're here trying to tell you where you're going. There's a ditch over there, right? We've said this before. Where you're going, there's a hole. Where you're going, you'll find yourself in a pit. They'll sell you into slavery, but you don't want to listen. But you don't want to listen, and that's okay. We have to let you go. We have to let you go on your merry way.
Gosh. It's when you say leave. You know, in the last episode. In the last episode, you said people leave. Oh my gosh, I was crying when I listened back to that. And when you said it today, I was just like, damn, people got to get going.
But that's the thing. It's like, you are free to roam around, but we would be bad people to tell you that where you're going may not serve you well. But hey, if you want to go there, that's your own personal choice.
Also diplomatically.
But also, 100. But also, then this is not for you.
Right.
You will constantly butt heads with us because we are actively seeking out two different things out of life.
We don't want to do that, and that's okay.
And we're not going to fight you, Mr. Six-Figure Man.
Allegedly. Because we definitely went on some profiles and we said, God damn,
maybe y'all just need to buy better phones with your six-figure salary.
Yeah, maybe it's 6 figures in cities. Naira, baby. I don't know. We got
100,000 naira.
We gotta do a conversion or something.
But yeah,
sisters and secret brothers that are aligned with our principles and aligned with our canon and aligned with this community. God bless you all. In fact, God bless you all, even if you're not aligned with us. 100%. We actually have no like personal.
But maybe God is bringing this to you because you need to start. No, maybe you keep finding us because you need to start listening. Your life needs to change, and if that is the case, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. No, you have to start your rehabilitation. God cannot keep sending you signs and you're resisting. So let us help you.
If you're looking for the sign to change your life today. You know, altar call.
It's an altar call. This is an altar call. If you would like to change.
If you'd like to change.
Turn away from your wicked ways. We welcome you to the front.
Sisters.
To hit that subscribe button.
Our time is spent today, but let this be the beginning of the time that you have spent seeking the Lord. Hallelujah. God bless you. So, sisters, thank you so much. We would love to hear your opinions on the Passport Brothers. How are you feeling about not just the Passport Brothers, but the modern woman, the modern man, the minefield that is modern relationships right now? We would love to hear. So please drop it like it's hot in the comment section below. We would love to hear it. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, as Miss Courtney said, please hurry up and be subscribing. Let's subscribe. Let's start the movement and start the change. The revival that we seek to see in this generation. It is now. We need you now. So please subscribe. Share the podcast. Please share this with a passport. Maybe you have a passport bro in your midst. Share this podcast episode with him. Maybe you have a modern woman, a city babe in your midst. Share this podcast with her, and hopefully we'll start to reach more people and have some really meaningful, purposeful conversations. Share the link. Share the link. We're live now, folks. We're live. Share the link.
I'm waiting for 100 people to like the video.
Yeah, if 100 people like this video, we'll do a part 2.
Oh, we get 100 likes regardless.
Oh yeah, that's true. Child, okay, maybe if 1k people like this, we'll do a part 2.
There we go.
If you'd like to hear the part 2, we might even get that 1k dislikes. Anyways, let me end this podcast episode, Sha. Sisters, make sure to sign up to our mailing list as well. If we haven't peppered you enough on the social media, we will definitely pepper you enough in the mailing list. So please sign up, www.tomysisters.com, and of course come and follow us on our individual channels. The lovely lady, the magnificent, the wonderful, the lady to the left of me at CD Boateng, and of course come and follow me over at Renee Kapuku.
We love to see it, sisters. We hope that you have an amazing week. We hope you did actually enjoy the episode, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. As always, keep glowing and growing.